Victoria Ashford had exactly 30 minutes to get to the most important board meeting of her career when her Bentley's engine died completely. The only garage within 20 miles was a small, run-down shop where a young black mechanic looked up from under another car's hood. "Lady, I'm pretty busy," he said without much interest. She was about to demand better service until she realized this busy mechanic might be her only hope. The sleek white Bentley Continental GT had been purring like a contented cat just moments before, carrying Victoria through the winding roads of Northern California toward the Ashford Industries headquarters in Silicon Valley. At 52, Victoria was known for three things: her impeccable taste in luxury cars, her ruthless business acumen, and her complete inability to tolerate incompetence from anyone, anywhere, at any time. Come on," she muttered, pressing the accelerator as smoke began billowing from under the hood. The temperature gauge was climbing into the red zone, and her perfectly manicured fingers gripped the leather steering wheel with increasing desperation. The board meeting that would determine the future of her billion-dollar company was scheduled to begin in 37 minutes, and she was still 45 minutes away. When the engine finally gave up with a dramatic hiss and clatter, Victoria found herself stranded on a rural stretch of highway she had never seen before. Her usual route through the city would have provided dozens of certified Bentley dealerships, but the scenic detour she had taken to avoid traffic had left her in what she could only describe as automotive purgatory. Washington's Auto Repair sat like a weathered island in a sea of farmland, its hand-painted sign barely legible, and its collection of cars in various states of dismemberment spread across a gravel lot. The building itself looked like it had been constructed sometime during the Carter administration and hadn't seen a fresh coat of paint since. Victoria's designer heels clicked against the cracked concrete as she approached the open garage bay, where she could see a pair of legs extending from beneath a rusted pickup truck. The sound of metal on metal echoed from the workspace, punctuated by what sounded like either cursing or singing. She couldn't tell which. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice carrying the authoritative tone she used in boardrooms. "I need immediate assistance." The legs stopped moving, and after a moment, a young black man emerged from under the truck. He appeared to be in his late 20s, wearing oil-stained coveralls that had seen better decades. His hands were black with grease, and there was a smudge of motor oil across his cheek. He looked at Victoria with the expression of someone who had been interrupted during delicate surgery. "Lady, I'm pretty busy," Jamal Washington said without much interest, gesturing toward the three other vehicles in various stages of repair around the garage. "What's the problem?" Victoria blinked, taken aback by his casual dismissal. In her world, people dropped everything when she walked into a room. Assistants scrambled, executives straightened their ties, and service providers practically genuflected. This grease-covered young man was treating her like any other customer. "The problem," she said, her voice rising slightly, "is that my Bentley is broken down, and I have a critical business meeting in 28 minutes. I need it fixed immediately." Jamal wiped his hands on a rag and walked to the garage entrance where he could see the white Bentley sitting on the side of the road with steam rising from its hood like a modern sculpture of automotive failure. "Bentley Continental GT," he observed with the casual tone of someone identifying a common household appliance. 2022 model, W12 engine. Steam coming from the hood usually means cooling system failure, but on those models it could be anything from a simple hose leak to a complete radiator replacement. Victoria was momentarily surprised by his technical accuracy, but quickly dismissed it. "I don't need a diagnosis. I need it fixed. Right now." Jamal looked at her for a long moment, taking in the designer suit, the expensive jewelry, and the barely contained panic in her eyes. "Right now isn't how engines work, lady, but let me take a look." He walked to his tow truck, a vehicle that looked like it had survived several apocalypses, but somehow kept running. Victoria followed, her anxiety growing with each passing minute. "How long will this take?" she demanded as Jamal hooked up the Bentley. "And I hope you understand that this car is worth more than most people's houses. I need someone who knows what they're doing." Jamal paused in his work and looked at her directly. "Ma'am, I've been working on cars since I was 12 years old. I can diagnose most problems just by listening to the engine, and I've worked on everything from rusty farm trucks to Ferraris. Your Bentley isn't magic, it's just another machine." Something in his quiet confidence made Victoria reconsider her initial assessment, but only slightly. She climbed into the passenger seat of the tow truck, wrinkling her nose at the torn upholstery and the smell of motor oil that seemed to permeate everything. Back at the garage, Jamal popped the hood of the Bentley and immediately began his examination. Victoria stood nearby, checking her phone constantly and making increasingly frantic calls to her assistant. "Reschedule the meeting," she hissed into the phone. "Tell them I'm dealing with an emergency. No, don't tell them what kind of emergency. Just buy me whatever time you can." Meanwhile, Jamal had removed several engine components with the precision of a surgeon. His movements were fluid and confident, and Victoria found herself grudgingly impressed by his obvious familiarity with the complex machinery. Found it," Jamal announced after about 10 minutes. "Your water pump failed. The bearing seized up and cracked the housing. It's been leaking coolant, which is why your engine overheated." Victoria stared at him blankly. "In English, please." "The part that circulates coolant through your engine broke. Without coolant circulation, the engine gets too hot and shuts down to prevent permanent damage. It's actually a safety feature." "How long to fix it?" Jamal scratched his chin, leaving another smudge of grease. "Well, that's the thing. This isn't a repair you can do quickly, especially not on a Bentley. The water pump is buried deep in the engine, and I need to remove half the front end just to get to it. Plus, I'd have to order the part from a Bentley dealer, which could take days." Victoria felt her world collapsing. "Days? I can't wait days. I have a company to run. This meeting could determine whether I keep control of my own business." "Sorry, lady. Sometimes cars don't care about your schedule." Victoria stared at the disabled Bentley, her mind racing through increasingly desperate alternatives. She could rent a car, but she was in the middle of nowhere. She could call for a helicopter, but there was nowhere for it to land. She could... "Wait," she said suddenly. "What if you rebuilt the water pump instead of replacing it?" Jamal looked at her with surprise. "That's not really how modern cars work. These parts are designed to be replaced, not rebuilt." "But theoretically, if someone had the skill and the right tools, could it be done?" Jamal considered this. "Theoretically, yeah, but it would require machining new bearings, fabricating a new housing, and basically engineering a custom solution. It would take incredible precision and how long? Maybe 2 hours if everything went perfectly. But the margin for error would be tiny. One mistake and I could destroy your entire engine." Victoria looked at her watch. She had already missed her original deadline, but if she could get back on the road in 2 hours, she might still salvage the situation. "Do it," she said firmly. Jamal stared at her. "Lady, I don't think you understand. This isn't like changing oil. If I screw this up, you'll need a whole new engine. That's about $50,000 worth of damage. And if you don't try, I might lose $1 billion company. Do it." For the next 2 hours, Victoria watched Jamal work with growing amazement. What she had initially dismissed as a simple mechanic turned out to be something entirely different. He didn't just fix things, he engineered solutions. Using a combination of precision tools, improvised equipment, and what appeared to be pure mechanical intuition, Jamal completely disassembled the water pump. He machined new bearings on a lathe that looked older than he was. He fabricated a new housing using techniques Victoria had never seen before. He even improved the original design, adding cooling channels that hadn't existed in the factory version. "Where did you learn to do this?" Victoria asked as she watched him work. "Here and there," Jamal replied, focused on his task. "My grandfather taught me the basics when I was a kid. The rest I picked up over the years." "This isn't basic automotive repair. This is engineering." Jamal shrugged. "Cars are just machines. If you understand how machines work, you can fix them. And if you understand why they break, you can make them better." Victoria found herself genuinely curious. "Have you ever considered working for a major automotive company? Your skills are being wasted in a place like this." Jamal paused in his work and looked at her. "Lady, you don't know anything about me or what I do here. I know you're brilliant with engines, that's obvious. But there's a whole world of opportunities out there for someone with your talents. Is there? Jamal asked quietly. For someone like me? Victoria was about to respond when her phone rang. It was her assistant with an update on the board meeting. The call lasted several minutes, during which Victoria alternated between fury and desperation as she learned how the delay was affecting her company's crisis. When she hung up, Jamal was putting the finishing touches on the rebuilt water pump. Bad news? He asked. The worst. My business partners are using my absence to push through a vote that will essentially remove me from control of my own company. 20 years of building Ashford Industries, and it could all be gone because of a broken water pump. Jamal installed the rebuilt pump with the same precision he had used to create it. What kind of company? Manufacturing. We make precision components for aerospace and automotive applications, parts that require incredible accuracy and reliability. Sounds interesting. What's the crisis? Victoria found herself explaining the situation to this young mechanic as if he were a trusted advisor. Ashford Industries was facing a hostile takeover. Her business partners had convinced the board that she was losing her edge, that her management style was outdated, that the company needed new leadership. Today's meeting was supposed to be her chance to present a plan that would prove them wrong. The irony, Victoria said bitterly, is that they're probably right. I've become so focused on controlling every detail that I've lost sight of the big picture. I've forgotten what it's like to solve problems instead of just managing them. Jamal finished his work and wiped his hands. Try starting it now. Victoria turned the key, and the Bentley purred to life as if it had never been broken. The engine ran smoother than it had in months. That's impossible, she breathed. It sounds better than when I bought it. I made a few improvements while I was in there. Better cooling flow, upgraded seals, more efficient bearing tolerances. Should run like that for another 100,000 miles. Victoria stared at him in amazement. You didn't just fix my car, you made it better. That's what I do. Victoria sat in the driver's seat, listening to the perfect rhythm of the engine, and had a sudden moment of clarity. This young man hadn't just solved her immediate problem. He had shown her something she had forgotten about business, about leadership, about the value of people who could see solutions where others saw only problems. What did you say your name was? Jamal Washington? Jamal, I want to offer you a job. Jamal laughed. Lady, I already have a job. Not like this. I want you to come work for Ashford Industries. We need someone who can think like you do, someone who can see problems as opportunities for innovation. Thanks, but I'm happy here. Victoria got out of the car and faced him directly. What if I told you I could offer you a salary of $200,000 a year, full benefits, and the resources to work on projects that could change entire industries? Jamal looked around his modest garage. What if I told you I make more than that right here? Victoria blinked. That's impossible. Is it? You want to know what I really do here, lady? I don't just fix cars. I design and manufacture custom parts for racing teams, specialty vehicles, and prototype development. Last month, I made $30,000 designing a custom transmission for a Formula One team. The month before that, I consulted on electric vehicle cooling systems for Tesla. Victoria's worldview shifted dramatically. You're not just a mechanic. I'm an engineer who happens to work with cars. I have a master's degree in mechanical engineering from MIT, 17 patents in automotive technology, and clients all over the world. This run-down garage is actually a state-of-the-art fabrication facility disguised as a small-town repair shop. Victoria felt like she was seeing everything clearly for the first time in years. Why the disguise? Because people like you see what they expect to see. A young black man in coveralls working in a garage must be just a mechanic. But when you need real expertise, when your back is against the wall and conventional solutions don't work, you find out who can actually solve problems. Victoria stood in silence, processing the magnitude of her misconceptions. Jamal, she said finally, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest. Shoot. Based on what you've observed about me today, and knowing what you know about manufacturing and engineering, do you think I'm the right person to run Ashford Industries? Jamal considered this carefully. You want the truth? Yes. I think you're brilliant at managing details and controlling processes, but I think you've forgotten how to innovate. You've become so focused on preventing mistakes that you've stopped taking the risks that made your company successful in the first place. Victoria nodded slowly. That's exactly what my business partners are saying. The difference is, they want to replace you. I think you just need to remember who you used to be. And who was that? Someone who would recognize talent wherever she found it. Someone who would take a chance on unconventional solutions. Someone who understood that the best innovations often come from the most unexpected places. Victoria looked at the Bentley, running perfectly thanks to a solution that no certified Bentley technician would have attempted. Jamal, I want to make you a different offer. I'm listening. I don't want to hire you. I want to partner with you. Ashford Industries needs to innovate or die. We need someone who can see possibilities that others miss, someone who can engineer solutions that don't exist yet. We need you. What exactly are you proposing? Victoria took a deep breath, knowing that what she was about to say would either save her company or destroy it completely. I'm proposing that you become my partner. 50-50 ownership of Ashford Industries. You bring your engineering genius and innovative thinking. I bring 20 years of business experience and an established company. Together, we transform the company into something neither of us could build alone. Jamal stared at her in shock. Lady, you just met me 2 hours ago. In 2 hours, you solved a problem that stumped the Bentley dealership, taught me more about real innovation than I've learned in years, and showed me what I've been missing about leadership. Sometimes the most important decisions are the ones you make quickly, based on what you see in front of you, rather than what you expected to find. You're talking about giving away $500 million company to someone you found in a garage. I'm talking about saving $1 billion company by partnering with someone who can help it grow into a $10 billion company. Jamal wiped his hands on his coveralls. A gesture Victoria now understood was how he bought time to think. What about your board meeting? Victoria checked her watch. I'm already 3 hours late. At this point, they've either voted me out or they're waiting to see if I show up with a miracle. And you think I'm your miracle? I think we might be each other's miracle. Jamal looked around his garage at the projects he had built, the life he had created, the independence he had fought to maintain. If we do this, he said finally, I have conditions. Name them. First, we don't hide who I am or where I come from. No trying to make me look more professional or changing my approach to fit corporate expectations. Agreed. Second, innovation decisions are made by both of us together. No overruling each other based on traditional business thinking. Agreed. Third, we establish a scholarship and mentorship program for young engineers from underrepresented communities. Part of our success goes back to creating opportunities for others. Victoria smiled. Agreed. Anything else? Yeah, we take my truck to your board meeting. Let them see exactly who their new partner is. An hour later, Victoria Ashford and Jamal Washington walked into the Ashford Industries boardroom together. Victoria's designer suit was now accessorized with a few strategic smudges of motor oil, and Jamal had cleaned up but was still wearing his work clothes. The board members' faces showed a progression from confusion to shock to barely concealed horror as Victoria introduced Jamal as her new 50-50 partner and co-CEO. Victoria, said board member Harrison Webb, I think the stress of today has affected your judgment. Perhaps we should postpone any major decisions until... Until what, Harrison? Until you can complete your little coup. I don't think so. Victoria spent the next hour explaining not only how Jamal had solved her immediate problem, but how his approach to innovation represented exactly what Ashford Industries needed to survive and thrive in the coming decades. Engineering isn't just about following established procedures, she concluded. It's about seeing problems as opportunities and having the creativity and skill to engineer solutions that don't exist yet. That's what Jamal did for my car today, and that's what we're going to do for this company. Board member Patricia Chen raised her hand. With all due respect, Mr. Washington, what makes you think you can help run a major corporation? Jamal stood up calmly. Ma'am, 3 hours ago, your CEO was stranded with a broken luxury car and 30 minutes to save her company. Traditional solutions would have taken days and left her with the same old problems. Instead, I engineered a custom solution that not only fixed the immediate problem, but made the entire system better than it was before. He paused, looking around the room. That's exactly what your company needs. Not someone who can manage the status quo, but someone who can engineer solutions to problems you don't even know you have yet. Patricia Chen leaned forward. And do you believe you can do that? I know I can, because I've been doing it for years, just not in a corporate setting. The question isn't whether I can help this company innovate. The question is whether you're brave enough to try something different. The vote that followed wasn't unanimous, but it was decisive. Victoria retained control of her company, with Jamal as her equal partner and co-CEO. 6 months later, Ashford Industries had filed 12 new patents, landed contracts with 3 major aerospace companies, and increased their revenue by 40%. The partnership between the polished business executive and the grease-stained engineer had created innovations that neither could have achieved alone. The transformation wasn't just professional, it was personal. Victoria rediscovered her passion for building things instead of just managing them. Jamal gained the resources and platform to pursue innovations that could benefit thousands of people instead of just individual clients. Their first major product was a revolutionary cooling system for electric vehicles that increased battery life by 30% while reducing manufacturing costs. It was based on the same principles Jamal had used to improve Victoria's Bentley, scaled up and refined for mass production. The automotive industry took notice, then the aerospace industry, then everyone else. A year later, Forbes featured Victoria and Jamal on their cover with the headline, "The Unlikely Partnership That's Reinventing American Manufacturing." The article detailed how a chance encounter at a roadside garage had led to one of the most successful business partnerships in recent history. "The best innovations," Victoria was quoted as saying, "come from the collision of different worlds, different perspectives, different ways of solving problems. I brought business experience and capital. Jamal brought engineering genius and fresh thinking. Together, we're building something neither of us could have imagined alone." Jamal's perspective was characteristically direct. Success isn't about fitting into existing systems. It's about engineering better systems. Victoria had forgotten that, and I helped her remember. She had resources I needed, and I had solutions she needed. Everything else was just having the courage to take a chance on each other. The scholarship program they had established was now funding 50 young engineers annually, creating the next generation of innovators who understood that brilliance could be found anywhere, and that true partnership meant bringing out the best in each other. Victoria kept the rebuilt water pump from her Bentley in a place of honor in her office. It served as a daily reminder that sometimes the most valuable solutions come from the most unexpected sources, and that real leadership means recognizing talent wherever you find it. Jamal, meanwhile, had expanded his original garage into a research and development facility that attracted engineers and innovators from around the world. But he still kept regular shop hours, still worked on cars for local customers, and still wore coveralls when he was designing the future of American manufacturing. The story of their partnership became legendary in business schools as an example of how assumptions and prejudices can blind us to extraordinary opportunities, and how the courage to see beyond surface appearances can transform not just individual lives, but entire industries. "The most dangerous phrase in business," Victoria would tell young entrepreneurs, is, "That's not how we do things." Innovation happens when you're willing to learn from people who do things differently, especially people you might not expect to have the answers you need. Years later, when Ashford Industries had grown into a multi-billion-dollar corporation and Jamal's innovations were standard in vehicles around the world, people would ask them about the secret to their success. Their answer was always the same. Never assume you know someone's capabilities based on their appearance or circumstances. The person who can solve your biggest problem might be the one you're most likely to overlook. And sometimes, the best business decision you can make is the one that seems completely crazy to everyone else. If this story touched your heart, Remember that talent and brilliance come in many forms and from many places. The next time you encounter someone whose circumstances or appearance don't match your expectations of expertise, take a moment to really listen to what they have to say. You might discover that the solution to your biggest challenge is standing right in front of you, waiting for someone wise enough to recognize it. True partnership isn't about finding someone just like you. It's about finding someone whose strengths complement your weaknesses, whose perspective challenges your assumptions, and whose vision helps you see possibilities you never knew existed. Sometimes the most successful collaborations are the ones that seem impossible until they become inevitable. Thank you very much for listening. Please let us know what you think of this story in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos.